Hey Gators and sports fans, get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. Pod Up, because we are Gator fans. So say it's great to be a Florida Gator.
All right.
Good morning and welcome to a Monday edition of Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Got a lot to talk about today. We'll have JC and Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com recapping the weekend and some of the other things that are going on in the sports world. If you missed it yesterday, Gator basketball stays undefeated, just destroys Troy in the O'Connell Center. Team's playing extremely well. They have to be the surprise team in all of college basketball, in my opinion. First, let's go to the Titan More Hotline. We're going to be joined by JC, who had multiple heart attacks on Saturday.
It was a wild weekend. It shows that the Iron Bowl will always live up to the hype.
And you know what it shows? Here's what it shows.
All right.
And it also shows from, week 3 in the swamp? Mm-hmm. Alabama ain't very good.
I know. And isn't it shocking they won 11 games? How do you explain that?
Because they have really good skill players. I'm talking about their line of scrimmage is so subpar, it's not even funny.
Yeah, well, because you're comparing them to past Alabama teams. And I understand that.
Do.
It is, but and that's true. I mean, the bar is set where it is. It's okay. So two things I'll say about Alabama and Auburn. The Alabama team did not play well, but they persevered and found a way to win a football game. They went, Auburn has the kick 6. Alabama now has 97 yards in 95 seconds. And so when you look at losing your best wide receiver, clearly offensive line is challenged, and still able to pull out a win in that environment. They've won a lot of games in hostile environments with the exception of one, and that was a 3-point loss where they had the lead with 5 minutes to go. So you can say they're not very good, but they are the Western champions, and they are 11-1, and they'll probably end up playing in the Sugar Bowl. So, if they don't beat Georgia. So it's not a bad year where the team that had that kind of turnover QB. I think if you looked at it more objectively, you would have to admit that this year's been
I'm just going to say this. Yes, they won those games. They had no business beating Auburn. If Tank Bigsby does not run out of bounds, they do not win that game.
So you're not going to give Jordan Battle any credit for what he did on that play?
What did he do? Tank Bigsby ran out of bounds.
Obviously didn't watch it, did you?
Yeah.
Jordan Battle pulled him out of bounds.
No, Bigsby, no. So here's where it goes back to TJ Finley, and it goes back to the coaching staff. Your quarterback in those situations in the huddle tells guys, do not fight for extra yards ever in that situation, and always stay in bounds and just fall down. So whether TJ Finley didn't do his job, I don't know if the coaches told him to say that.
Well,
give Jordan back. That's great. He pulled him out, but all he had to do was just fall down. The game's over.
No, I'm not saying that, but you can't say one thing without the other. I mean, Alabama made a play.
I'm giving Alabama credit, but my point is, Auburn cost themselves the chance to win the football game by a guy. All he has to do is fall down, and it wastes over 40 seconds. They don't have that opportunity.
It's a fact, but it's a fact. But Auburn also had the benefit of 130 yards in penalties. Look, both teams deserve to win.
Start with penalties, but wait a minute, we all know how Alabama gets every call in every game.
Not in that one, they didn't. And both teams had plenty of chances to win it and plenty of chances to lose it. Auburn was winning most of the day, but they were up 10-0. That's not what you would call an insurmountable lead, and it wasn't. But
with a horrible guy playing quarterback, if they had anybody worth a damn, they would have blown them out.
So whose fault is that? They're 6-6, QB.
I know.
There's a reason for it.
Y'all struggle with another 6-6 team, who's awful, by the way. Dan says here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Melton Law. Danielson was hammering the poor kid the rest of the game about running out of it. Yeah, I was too as well, because not only just the kid's fault, that quarterback has to remind those guys what to do in those situations. All right, Gators beat Florida State in one of the worst football games I've ever witnessed in my life. It was so bad. I can't even tell you. Two bad football teams. Thank goodness the Gators won it.
Hey, how about Greg Knox though? I mean, I gotta give that dude some credit. I hope he gets a good job somewhere. You know what he did with Mississippi State in 2017 in that Gator Bowl, and then coming here in tough circumstances with a team that was kind of in somewhat of a disarray situation and getting them together. I had a feeling Florida was going to play inspired football, and inspired emotionally. All right, they weren't very good on the field, but emotionally they were inspired. And look, you're not going to tell me Dameon Pierce didn't try his best. And so
he always does.
Right. So, I mean, you got to give some of these guys credit. They're bowl eligible. They get to now practice some more, and they get to go look forward to a bowl game. And with everything that's come around this season, the disappointment that it is, I think it's great that they were able to beat their cross-state rival, who hates them, and go to a bowl game.
Let me tell you something.
They're awful.
I don't know how they won 5 games. I'm telling you, that is one. I've never seen a Florida State game with such lack of speed on both sides of the ball and just lack of athleticism. It was shocking in person.
Yeah,
we got some Facebook Lives and some texts here on the Titan Mark text line. Comes from Barry. He says, "Good morning, guys. I watched the FSU warm up in the end zone. They didn't look that big. Does Billy Napier run an offense similar to Florida?" I don't really know what Billy Napier runs. I've watched him in Louisiana, and he's got a dual threat guy, which if you look at college football, the dual threat quarterback is going away. It is going back to a guy that can throw the football. And so if I'm Billy Napier, I do know that he has a 5-star Louisiana quarterback that I think is committed to LSU. He was going to go play for Billy Napier, but he said the school ain't big enough. Obviously, it makes sense. But don't be surprised if that kid doesn't come here. I can't remember, like Will Howard or something like that. But we need a couple of dudes that can flat out throw it.
Yeah.
Joseph says, Emory Jones blew it. We should have had at least 14 more points, possibly even 21. It wasn't even close to scoreboard red. Emory made the one interception. I think it was his second interception. I was sitting in the booth with Lee McGriff. We both looked at each other. And Jacob Copeland ran one of the worst routes I've ever seen in college football. And people want to blame Emory on that. Now, the other two throws, he just threw late. But that was pass, all on the receiver.
But he threw it inside.
That's where he was supposed to throw it. That's what the general public does not understand, spacing and route running.
That's what Robert Griffin said. The general public didn't say that.
Let's let everybody chime in on Robert Griffin as a
Heisman Trophy. He won the Heisman Trophy.
Okay, well, he's doing commentating, and I don't know how long he's going to be doing that because he is not very good.
I like it.
I don't know one person outside of one other person that enjoyed listening to him because I can't tell you how many people text me and tweeted about how poor they did. And I agree because I rewatched it. All right, we got another text here on the Titan MR text line. Comes from Ryan. He says, well, Shane, clearly Lincoln Riley wanted no part of the SEC. Go dominate another weak conference and never win a natty. Guess he doesn't like a challenge. Best thing that happened all weekend was Coach Knox sticking with Pierce late and letting him finish off that drive. If they all played that hard, Florida would have won a couple more games. Going to miss him. Yeah, he's one guy that has a chance at the next level. Let me say this about Lincoln Riley. I think the world of Lincoln Riley. I think that dude can coach football. He's 38 years old. He's already been in the playoffs, 3 or 4 times. He will have USC in the hunt starting next year because he's going to get the top quarterbacks that want to go play for him. I wouldn't be surprised if that one kid doesn't transfer and go with him, Caleb Williams. So,
he better figure out how to play defense if he's going to win anything.
His defense wasn't that bad this year.
Oklahoma, well, no, but when they got to the college football playoff, they allowed.
All right, well, they
allowed
that.
200 points to 4 different teams, dude. I mean, they're not. And listen, Oklahoma progressively in the last 5 years, I don't think has gotten any better. I think they've gotten worse.
Regardless. They play offense. And we got about 10 comments here, JC, talking about how RG3 is the male Beth Mowens. RG3 sucks. Horrible commentating by – yeah, I thought he was horrible too when I rewatched it. It was so bad, so bad. But anyway, I don't blame Lincoln Riley one bit because USC is a premier job.
It's going to be But think of this objectively. I think it was easier. I mean, I think there's a point to Daryl's text because I don't think, and it's been reported that he really never was in favor of this move to the SEC to begin with. And I clearly think it was easier for him when he was in the Big 12 to get to a championship and get to the college football playoff than it will even be in the Pac-12. I mean, they cannibalize each other in that league. And there's been two different teams in the Pac-12 that have made the college football playoff where there's only been one, and that was his team out of the Big 12. So the Big 12 really wasn't that difficult to begin with. But I think you're right. I think it's going to be considerably better for him in the Pac-12 than it would be playing in the SEC. I don't think there's any doubt.
There's no doubt. I mean, whether they expand it or not, I know expansion is supposed to happen. I don't know where the status is on that. Well, I'm telling you right now, SC will run the Pac-12 from here on out.
We'll see. I guarantee I got to see
guarantee
that before I believe it.
Well, what other team do you think right now is going to give them? Oh, Oregon loses to bad teams. UCLA loses to bad teams.
Well, they all do. They eat each other.
Right. But what I'm saying is that's the premier job out there. You get the right coach, I'm telling you, they're going to be tough. John asked, who does LSU go after now? The reports were saying they wanted Riley. That's what the report said. And then what's funny is at that Oklahoma State game, they played Callin' Baton Rouge, which is a song that Garth Brooks sings that LSU plays in their stadium.
Right.
And I don't know if anybody saw the commentator after the game talked to Lincoln Riley. He goes, I am not taking the LSU job.
Yeah. And what I tell you, what I loved was Lane Kiffin sending pictures on Twitter of Louisiana license tags. I thought that was hilarious. I mean, this guy is the greatest tweeter of all coaches of all time. And he could have been recruiting there, and certainly he may be getting Ole Miss ready for a possible Sugar Bowl game.
He's recruiting he was recruiting in Texas and Louisiana.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, he's sending tweets of cars with Louisiana license tags. I think it's hilarious. But that would be, I think, the obvious pick for LSU now to try to get him from Ole Miss. And, whether that happens or not remains to be seen. But I don't know what LSU's. I don't. I thought Riley would be their guy, but I guess he doesn't want to be a part of the SEC.
Brent says here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law, Matt Campbell might finally get a shot at a big school. If it's me, I don't hire Matt Campbell. You go look at Matt Campbell's record.
Well, he's at Iowa State.
I don't care.
What do you mean you don't care? It's Iowa State.
They were ranked 6th in the country at the beginning of the year, and they have 5 losses, JC.
Okay, that's great, but it's Iowa State. Bro.
But they play in the poor Big 12.
That's true, they do, but they're Iowa State. And the bottom line is that the fact they were ranked 6th says something before the season started.
Because they had 20 starters back from a team that lost 5 games last year.
Well,
I'm just saying that doesn't mean anything, coach, but he's perfect where he is. Yeah. I don't like his style of play. It's boring as hell to watch. It's a bunch of quarterback runs.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, the coaching carousel is going to be tremendous. I mean, 14 openings, something like that now?
There's only one other one that matters.
It's LSU.
Yeah. None of the other. I mean, who cares about the other jobs?
Well, I think Miami will be one that's open. I think people will care about that. And we'll have to see about these other ones, but that's another one of interest. Certainly, it is Miami. So
we got a text on the Titan of our text line from Gary. Says, "Good morning. How come Kerwin Bell doesn't get any love as Florida for the head coaching job?" No, just because he's coached at these small schools. He did a great job this year at Western Carolina, and he's never going to take a coordinator job again after what he did going to work for Charlie Strong. He's told me that was the biggest mistake he ever made, which is true.
Yeah.
John wants to know, does Heupel go to OU now? Possibly, but don't be surprised. Don't be surprised if Stoops doesn't take. Stoops is coaching the bowl game.
Yeah, I do know that. He's going to try to help him out.
He may try to get his brother the job, or he may just say, you know what, I want to get back in this thing.
Well, maybe he does miss it a lot. I mean, these guys that get on the set and talk about it on the set, there just seems to be something missing, right? I mean, they want to be out there in the action. They want to coach. That's what coaches do.
Chris says the number one QB in the country just opened his recruitment back up from Oklahoma after Riley left. Yeah. Well, he got the number one recruit in America last year who's playing quarterback for him now. I'm telling you, he's going to have the pick of the litter to play quarterback for him.
Well, like I said, he better figure out how to find a defense. And I'll say this about defense, too.
Let me tell you something.
Florida's got to find a defense. And
Florida's find a whole new roster.
Well, I think Florida. I heard two names that might be of interest for Florida that you want to keep your eye on. Is two names that Billy Napier could potentially hire, and of course, this is just reading, and it's not. I mean, nobody really knows because Billy Napier hasn't said it. But the fella at Oklahoma State's getting a hard look.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know who Billy's probably going to bring most of his guys from Louisiana, maybe a couple other guys. That's what Coach. I don't think anybody on this staff survives. No. Dan asked, the Bob Stoops situation makes me wish that HBC would have coached the FSU game. I will tell you this, the HBC did not want any part of calling plays because nobody on this roster could run his plays. That's what people don't understand.
Right. Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, plus he's got what? He's going to have a month to get himself and his team, get these guys ready to play. Well, they don't play any more games.
It's the same offense. People forget Lincoln Riley was the offensive coordinator when Stoops was the head coach. Right. Nothing changes. Nothing will change at Oklahoma.
Yeah.
They're going to try to, they're going after Cliff Kingsbury, which I don't know why he would want to go back to college.
Well, he won't. Why would he want to go talk to 16-year-olds and recruit when he's into Arizona winning football games? I think you got to look at Heupel, though. I mean, this would be so ironic for poor Tennessee. The second time a Southern California job opening would screw their coaching situation. It screwed them with Lane Kiffin. And now here's Josh Heupel getting things together in Rocky Top. They had a pretty good year. And what if he goes to Oklahoma now? I mean, I wouldn't be shocked at all to see that one. Because, that's a school. That's a no-brainer. I mean, that's a school. I mean, no, I'm saying I wouldn't be shocked.
If they want him, he's gone. Lauren says on Facebook Live, it's going to be transfer and went away. Talking about with the Gator football team. Yeah, I think a lot of kids are going to enter the transfer portal, which is a good thing in my opinion. Yeah. Lauren says he would love to see the fun and gun one more time. I don't know what Billy. I just know this. Billy, we can't have the quarterback runs. I was talking to two different people yesterday, not players, but just people that know college football, and they agreed with me that the days of the dual threats, and if you go and you look at all the quarterbacks on the top teams in America right now, they're throwers. That dual threat stuff is gone. Jamie asked, do you think Billy keeps Nick Savage? I have no idea. Usually guys bring in their own strength guys. And so we'll see.
Well, Jim Knowles is the guy I was talking about at Oklahoma State. And there's another guy at Houston called Doug Belt. And this was a report off 247sports.com. So those are two guys that potentially could come to Florida and be the defensive coordinator under Billy Napier. I mean, so what do you think about Billy Napier? What is your initial reaction to this hire?
All right, real quick, let me get this Facebook Live before it vanishes. Joseph says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mental Law, I'd like to see Robert Gillespie on staff too, former Florida running back. It'd be great to see Rob G here, but I don't see him leaving Alabama, even though he played here. But it could happen. I'd like to see Mike Peterson, who I think does a tremendous job recruiting up at South Carolina. So I don't know hardly anything about Billy Napier. I know he's coached at a bunch of different places. I know he's done a great job at Lafayette.
They won 10 games. I think they're 11-1 or something. I mean, they won every game they played.
They win in the Sun Belt. They've done some success. They went and beat that Matt Campbell led team 2 years ago. Your great Matt Campbell. Iowa State got pummeled by Lafayette. The Raging Cajuns. But no, I from everything said, everybody says it's a good hire because he's a relentless recruiter, which that's the number one thing right now. I think being able to call plays and all that stuff is like, who cares? Go find the best players so you can try to rely on their ability. But I think we got to find somebody that can really teach the passing game, spacing, route running,
Well,
reading.
that's not something that you think that. I mean, he hasn't shown that. He's gotten quarterbacks who like to run the ball, take off, and go, and we don't know about what you're talking about as being the case with this coach. Now, I mean, it's not to say it couldn't happen, but that's not how they. That's not their offense.
John says we aren't going to blow out people with Napier. It's going to be more like the early saving days until he gets rolling, from what I've heard from the guys at Raging Cajun Review.
Yeah. Well, they did beat Appalachian State already. They get to play him again this weekend, and he's going to coach that game, his last game at Cajun Field against Appy State. They did beat them this year, though. They've already beaten them once. They're 11-1.
So his quarterback is Levi Lewis. He's a lefty who can run around, throw it okay, but I think he's got to go find two of the best throwers in America, try to convince them to come here. And supposedly that one kid out of the state of Louisiana, I think his name is Will Howard, could be coming. So we will see. JC and our Peachland Dental picks, I went 9-8, you went 8-9. I got a 7-game lead on you now. I guess the season's not over. We've still got bowl games. Do we have any idea, all our loyal listeners, because I haven't really followed it, where are the possibilities of the Gators going?
Yeah, man. Well, there's 13 teams in the SEC that are going to a bowl game. There's only one team that's not going to a bowl game. So of those 13 teams, you get to pick 13 different bowl games. I can't keep track of them all. I know that there's 2 in Florida. There's 3 or 4 of them in Florida. You got Champs, you got Gator, you got Outback, and you got Capital One. I know that. There's probably one more I'm forgetting. So that's 5 or 4 bowl games in Florida. But I would like to see Florida go out of Florida and play somewhere else.
Natasha just said the Gasparilla Bowl, which is in Tampa. Oh, boy.
I mean, but listen, it's just an extra game. It's an extra game. And,
but here's the thing. Yeah. I get it. Here's the only good thing about the bowl game this year for the Gators.
Okay.
And there was another Facebook I wanted to read, but damn, they're going by so fast and they go away.
Why do they go away?
Somebody on here was mentioning. Let me get back to the Gasparilla Bowl. Somebody was mentioning they weren't sold on Billy Napier because he's never been a Power 5 head football coach. Mm-hmm. Well, neither had Urban Meyer. So you just because
QB wasn't
because someone has never been a head coach.
Hold on. Urban Meyer coached at Utah.
I don't think they were the Power 5 back then. They weren't.
You sure about that?
They weren't in the Pac-12 then.
Okay. You sure about that?
I'm 100% sure.
What did Alex Smith and them win, though? Didn't they win some sort of conference?
Yeah, but no, they won the Mountain West or whatever the hell they were in.
Okay.
I bet our research people will tell you they were not.
Better get on that. Better get on that.
You want to put a lunch wager on that?
No. I don't know. I didn't know. I mean, I can't remember when Utah joined the league.
They were in like the Big Sky or the Mountain West or whatever Boise State was in.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Utah was in the Mountain West.
Okay. Are you sure they didn't? I mean, what did they carry him off?
100% sure.
Alex Smith did not play in a Power 5 league?
No.
Okay.
Not at all. No, they were in those cheesy conferences out there playing Air Force and Nevada and Utah.
What year was
State.
this? 2005 or 6?
Yeah.
When was that? Do you remember when it was?
Everybody's typing Mountain West. Okay, Jason, you're wrong. I told you.
I didn't say it. I didn't say. I thought they would. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Go ahead. So back to the Gasparilla Bowl. Everybody talks about it. It's great for practice. Look, everybody's going to be coaching and preparing for this game. None of them are going to be on the staff. Maybe 1 or 2. So it really doesn't.
It's just for the kids.
I mean, it's a good payout. Let the kids go have fun at the beach or what have you. But I mean, it is what it is. It has no. It's got no bearing on anybody getting better for next year because you're going to have a totally new scheme on both sides of the ball.
Okay. Well, you know what? These kids want to have a trip to go to, and they this gives them something else to look forward to. I think it's great. Look, let's think about this. You could be FSU and just throwing in your pads right now, and maybe that's good for FSU.
Because that team.
Maybe that's good for FSU.
Neither team really deserve to go to a bowl, quite honestly.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's true, but that's what this is. You win 6 games and you get to go to some silly bowl. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, so 1 million people have said Utah's in the Mountain West.
Mountain West, okay, all right.
Yeah, I want to say they upset Pitt.
They won some big game. They won some big game. Okay, so maybe that's So really, that is kind of like a Power 5 team. I mean,
they played one game. They played one game.
But I mean, they were good that year. You know, they were good that year. They were good.
We got a text on the Titan MR text line. Darryl wants to know, are the Dolphins your team of the week this week?
Well, let's talk about the Dolphins. Tua, you know, he's got 3,500 yards throwing. He's 67% completion percentage. He's got 21 touchdowns and a 90.5 passer rating with 6 rushing touchdowns in the first 16 starts of his career. And the Dolphins have won 4 straight, on their way to 9 or 10 wins. So what do you think of that? They're going to play the Giants and the Jets in the next 2 weeks. They're going to be 7-7. And they don't have a very difficult schedule from there. So I think it's pretty amazing what they've been able to turn around and do. And I think Tua's played better. Mac Jones is clearly the rookie of the year. New England now has the 1 seed. And you do realize that in the NFL, they've changed the playoff format. So you're only going to have 1 team in each conference with a bye week, and you're going to have 3 wild card games, which means the number 2 seed in each conference has to play a wild card game. And that's how it's going to be. So the Dolphins could win 10 games conceivably. That's still mathematically possible, and get a wild card bet. So there's your Miami Dolphins update. And it's crazy. That's the NFL. That is the NFL. The worst team in the first 6-7 games of the season turns out now to be a team that could possibly win a wild card spot and be the 7th seed. Think about that.
The NFL is crazy because the Colts dominated the Tampa Bay Buccaneers yesterday.
Except they turned the ball
4 turnovers gave the game away, and especially
what was that?
Punts.
21 points? 28 points off turnovers for Tampa? I mean, no team's going to win. It wasn't
turnovers where they had to drive the length of the field after the turnover. There were turnovers and they only had to go like 10 yards.
They led the touchdowns.
Tampa's got some problems.
Maybe, but don't bet against them in the postseason.
Levi says, with all the opt-outs, is any bowl game that's not the CFP worth a darn? Yeah. Look, I don't think there's – look, for the Gators, you need to play football and put your stuff on tape if you want to get drafted and go play the next level. There's only one guy on our roster that's probably going to be a first-rounder, and that's Kaiir Elam. The rest of the guys will be lucky to get drafted, so they need to
Well, I hope you
play
just
as much as they can.
You said Pierce could be a draft pick.
I think he would be like a late – he doesn't have enough on tape, but he could be one of those diamond in the roughs. He's going to make a roster. I'll tell you that, because he plays special teams. He will make a roster.
He plays hard.
I'm in that league. So,
I
don't know.
Well, So, I mean, hey, and let's just not forget, we mentioned earlier in this segment, the basketball team, they're 6-0. But that win over Ohio State was tremendous. And it kind of got me feeling a little basketball-ish, even though I never do until after football season. That got me excited to see Appleby hit that shot and to see how Florida stayed in that game when they could have disappeared as Ohio State was making their runs. It was fun to watch. I enjoyed that every bit of that game. That was special because I typically don't like to watch basketball right now. But when you're 6-0, you get people's attention. So that's a great story. And, you know, I think it's good. The SEC is going to be a good conference. It's going to be a very good conference.
Reed says here, can y'all or staff or somebody do a pre-show prep? Watch some Napier film. Talk to people that worked or been coached. I ain't got time for that, Reed. You can go watch all that.
Louisville, I mean, what is there to watch? You're watching Louisiana play a bunch of Sun Belt games. I mean, if that's going to get you moving, that's great. But it's a different world now, okay? And he's going to do fine. I don't see why he wouldn't do well.
No, he's saying that we need to do prep and talk about what he's all about. No, I don't. We'll find out.
Well, he's 11-1. That's what he's all about. He's 11-1 in the Sun Belt, and they got a good little team over there in Lafayette is where they are. And their big thing is about culture, and they put the C with the ULLTURE in there, culture. And you know, so he's going to bring culture to the University of Florida. So how about that for some background? How about that for some background?
That was good stuff.
The new sheriff is in town now. All right, it's going to be a different roster next year. It's going to be really exciting to see how this evolves in the offseason for Florida fans because they need some changes. There's no question they need some changes. They made the biggest change a week ago. So
turn your car or truck into a rolling billboard for your business or brand with an eye-catching vehicle wrap from Wrap Spot. This November, mention promo code Shane, receive 13% off your vehicle wrap. One more text here before we let you go, JC. It's on the Titan MR text line. Frankie asks, doesn't a bowl game give the new coach a chance to evaluate the roster versus film. Yeah, he gets to see them up close and see how they move around and, what kind of feet they have, what kind of hands they have, little things like that. But I got a feeling there's going to be a big roster turnover.
Yeah,
roster turnover.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. I'm thinking the same thing. You got to get some dogs on defense, man. You got to get some guys that really want to get their heads in there.
We need speed on the entire team. We look slow.
Yeah.
Camp asked, do you know what Billy's salary is going to be? I have not heard. I thought I heard somebody say 6 years, $48 million.
That'd be probably
right.
That'd be about right. 7 to 8 a year. God. But look, if Mel Tucker can get 95 and James Franklin can get a 95, so that's just the way it's working. TV is paying for this, and private donors are paying for this, and ticket prices. So that's primarily the ladder that's funding all of this. And it's crazy. I don't know if college football coaches have non-competes in their contracts, because what Lincoln Riley did to Oklahoma overnight was pretty startling to them. And I don't think they were that surprised, but they are left now holding the bag, and they're kind of in a mess right now. So they've got some issues that they need to clean up quickly. And I'd be on the phone to Knoxville, Tennessee right now. But I don't know if that guy's going to leave Danny White. I don't know. I mean, you say he is, and he probably will, but I mean, he probably will, but I don't know if Oklahoma's going to call him. They'd be crazy not to. So we'll see. I mean,
if they call him, he is gone.
He's gone. Okay.
And why wouldn't they call him?
No, I think they will. I don't see why they wouldn't. I mean, it'd be crazy not to, right? I mean, this is who they are, and they'd be able to keep some of these players they're about to lose that he had recruited. So, just because he recruited them to go to Oklahoma doesn't necessarily automatically mean they want to live and play in LA, but it could. But big kids, LA is such a different world, dude. It's a different culture. I don't know. Maybe SC will win that league and dominate it, but
they will.
It's a tough league to win, dude.
Today? November 28, 29.
You think they're going to dominate that league?
Oh, yeah. All they need to do. They dominated for multiple years until Pete Carroll left. Then they never got the right coach.
You know what was different back then? They played defense when Pete Carroll was there, and they also were physical.
Don't
they're
correct
not
me if I'm
physical
wrong.
Now. I know Reggie Bush, Carson Palmer. I get all that.
I mean, he only had like 6 Heisman Trophy winners.
What is Pete Carroll, Shane? What is he? He's
old.
A defensive coach. He's a defense coach. And that's something that Southern Cal and just about every team in that league, including Oregon, has not been able to play very well. Washington was pretty good with Chris Peterson. Washington went to the college football playoff because of their defense. So, I mean, that's you can't win that thing without a defense. And that's why Georgia's going to win it this year, because they play defense like the 2011, 2012 Alabama team. And that's the Nebraska Cornhuskers teams back in the old days in the 90s, and the Miami Hurricanes teams with all those fast linebackers and all those great defensive backs. And the Florida Gator team of 2008, those teams could play defense, bro. And you got to have.
They
some
also
sort of
played
defense.
A damn good offense, so that's all I got to say.
But
you got to score.
Florida didn't light up the scoreboard against Oklahoma. They just beat them badly, but they didn't light up the scoreboard. You better stop people from scoring if you're going to win a championship. We all know this, QB. This is not a great secret of the world. Everybody knows that. So that's something SC is going to have to prove to me before I'm just crowning them the champions of the world in the West.
I'm just going to tell you right now, they're going to win the Pac-12 next year.
Okay. Well, that's a bold prediction.
Well, you don't think it's a good job. I think it's a premier. It's probably the top job west of the Mississippi River.
Well, there's not many.
Well, I know there's not many, but that is the premier job, and he will get so many athletes there. It's going to be scary. Trust me. All right, JC, we appreciate you taking the time. Go worship
Wednesday
you got hanging.
Wednesday, we got to start talking about the SEC championship game and those kind of things.
It's going to get ugly. It's going to get. Are you going? Yeah, are you going to be a Fairweather fan or not?
I'm going. No, I'm going. I go all the time, bro. All the time. Every year they play, which is about every year, I go. Except I didn't go last year because it wasn't worth going to. But that was the best offense in history, so I should have gone. Anyway. That was good.
All right, that's JC. Join us on the Titan MR Hotline. Going to take a timeout. Come back. We'll be joined by FloridaGators.com. Scott Carter, get his thoughts on the new football coach at Florida.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, won't back down. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Great Clips, it's gonna be great. Our Gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, South State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Rib Company, Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Caldwell Banker, MM Parish, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Rap Spot, Okido America, Gators Dockside, Style Cuts, Big Mills Cheesesteaks. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure you follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Are you tired of being sidelined by nagging pain? Hi, I'm Emmett Smith, Hall of Famer and Dance with the Stars champion. Happy to tell you about QC Kinetics and their biologic therapies for treating pain without drugs or surgery.
Are you suffering from chronic pain in your hips, knees, shoulder, or lower back? Are you tired of living with arthritis pain? QC Kinetics offers natural pain treatment that can repair and restore damaged tissue in your joints.
Listen, I know pain, and I've seen firsthand how powerful biologic therapies can be. Patients at QC Kinetics rave about their result because they're getting their lives back. They're getting moving again.
These exciting regenerative treatments used to be available only to pro athletes like Emmett. Now they're available to anyone thanks to QC Kinetics. Call today for your free consultation.
Get long-lasting results from my friends at QC Kinetics.
Call QC Kinetics 352-400-4550. In North Central Florida, call 352-400-4550. QC Kinetics 352-400-4550.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Center State Bank's now South State Bank, but we still put business first. We understand that small businesses need a community business partner that they can rely on. South State still has 4 convenient Alachua County locations. South State Bank, banking forward, member FDIC. Now we're going to go back to the Titan MR hotline. We'll be joined by senior writer at FloridaGators.com, Scott Carter. Good morning, Scott. How are you, buddy?
Hey, Shane, doing well. Another eventful weekend for the Gators, man. We've had a couple of those lately.
No doubt about it. Let's go ahead and let's start with the football game.
Yep.
Hard football game to watch. Very long football game, and just we're fortunate the Gators came out on top, but it was hard to watch.
Yeah, I don't think that one's going to be put in a museum anytime soon. 4-hour game. It's kind of like a Yankees Red Sox Sunday night baseball game, and it dragged on forever. But the Gators found a way at the end. They got up 24-7, and you felt good about it at that point after the Damian Pierce moment, with his helmet flying off. That kind of just got everybody charged up for a big finish. And then, of course, they put it away. He finished it off later on that drive. But that play that's going to stand out as one that I'll always remember. I mean, it was just a fun moment. Glad that he obviously didn't get hurt. But also, Shane, Florida State made a little run. And the last 12 minutes of that game was kind of a comedy of errors for both sides. I mean, there were so many penalties and back and forth, but it just shows me that's 2 5 and 6 teams trying to get bowl eligible. That's what it looks like. And we saw it. And, fortunately for the Gators, they found a way, during the week after Dan Mullen's dismissal. Greg Knox took over, the seniors rallied, and the guys showed up. And, they had good energy. And I'll say this again. I tweeted it. I know Knox talked about it after the game. Got to give the fans a lot of credit, man. That was a great crowd on a beautiful afternoon to watch a Florida State game that, let's face it, Shane, it doesn't exactly match up with some of the ones you probably played in. But it was still a big win for the Gators.
Yeah, winning is key. Scott, you've been watching a lot of Gator games, and especially from the view we get way up high. I've come to the conclusion. I've said this periodically throughout the year, and maybe I'm crazy. And I'm not saying it's just about Florida, but I'm talking about Florida State too. Those two teams look slow to me. Am I crazy? But we just don't look like we have great team speed.
It's definitely not what we're accustomed to, I think, for both of these teams. And, Shane, I read something over the weekend that I had to read it twice because it really threw me off when I read it. Of the top 16 current recruits in the 2022 class, only one of those players of the top 16 from the state of Florida are committed to either Florida, Florida State, or Miami. So that means that's amazing to me that 15 of the top 16 recruits right now are either committed to out-of-state schools or have not committed yet. I mean, it just didn't used to be that way. And so much of the speed that college football is known for, guess what? A lot of it comes from Florida. And so you got more of those guys leaving the state. And I think your point is probably valid in some ways. It is a different kind of speed. And I think until the Gators and Florida State and Miami, until they can get their programs back to where they're recruiting and keeping kids in the home state, I think you're going to see that maybe as a potential development there. But it was a game that you remember it for the final score if you're a Gator fan. And, the start was good. They scored their first drive, but then Anthony Richardson comes in. I know a lot of people wanted to see him play. I thought he did better, certainly, than he has some lately. But ultimately, like I said earlier, you got to remember this one if you're a Gator fan just for the final score.
Yeah, Lauren says, Shane, guys do not run track anymore. We used to always have guys on the track team in Florida. Good point, Lauren. You talked about the recruiting in the state of Florida. I don't follow recruiting. I do know that I think all three big schools here in the state have missed out. Obviously, you have to win games and put guys in the league, all that stuff. That's why kids are leaving the state. But I'm curious, out of those 16 that you mentioned, I wonder how many of those kids are at IMG Academy, because that kind of skews the whole kids staying in state, because majority of those kids at IMG are from other states.
Yeah.
And, which don't even get me started on IMG, because I don't believe in that. I think it's the biggest crock there is out there, because any kid that leaves his high school team to go play at like a small, basically high school / college, and leave your high school buddies hanging and not try to win a state championship with them, it blows my mind. I can't stand that place. Nothing against it, but I can't stand it.
Oh yeah, the system is definitely different and not necessarily for the better in a lot of ways.
Yeah. All right. So Billy Napier's hired. He won't be announced. We won't have his press conference till after, I guess, the day after his championship game. Yep. Just your thoughts. I mean, I don't think you're surprised. You heard all the rumblings that was the one guy Scott Strickland was pointing at. Just what do you know about Billy Napier?
Well, I mean, the guy is, he's done amazing things when you look at his 4 years at Louisiana Lafayette. I mean, not exactly known as a football powerhouse. And he came in there, and I think he's 39-12, has them ranked consistently. They're 11-1 this year, won 11 in a row. Their only loss was in the opener to Texas. And I mean, his name has been out there for, about a decade when he became the youngest coordinator in Clemson history. And of course, they had a great year his first year, then they slipped. So you know how the game works. Dabo had to make a change to keep the heat off him, and Billy was the guy. But he went to Alabama and kind of revitalized his career, and then he got his first head coaching job. And he's going to be linked to Nick Saban again. I mean, we've seen this story play out with the Gators about 3 times here in the last decade. The thing that, just from talking to people about him or reading about him, he's a football guy, man. I mean, he lives it and breathes it. I think he's probably a true disciple of Saban in terms of just the way he manages his time and his resources. So you just never know how that's going to work out, Shane. But he's 42 years old, so he's a younger guy. offensive-minded coach who has done a lot of things with a Raging Cajuns program that I don't think many people expected. He's got them back in the Sun Belt Conference Championship game Saturday night. He grew up the son of a coach. I mean, he's been around the game since he was a kid, and he's an interesting hire in the fact that you're right. I think Scott Strickland targeted him early and stuck on him because I think the thing that really impressed me the most or kind of caught my attention about Billy Napier was the fact that in the last 2 or 3 years, he's had several other good offers where he would have moved up the ladder from Louisiana Monroe, but he was waiting for that offer that fit him. And I think he's got it with Florida. Now we all get to see together what he does with his truly big break in his career.
Hey, Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today, 352-244-0840. Speaking with Scott Carter here, you can follow Scott on Twitter at Gators Scott. Yeah, Billy, as you mentioned, I don't think people realize his name's been mentioned the last few years for a lot of jobs, and he denied them and declined them, I should say, several times for whatever reason. And, he is a coach's son. He played quarterback at Furman back in the day. So we'll see. Nancy asked here on Facebook Live, when does Greg Knox get a head coaching job? Second SEC interim, took the team to wins during the chaos. He won't get a head coaching job.
Yeah,
nothing against him, but he won't.
Yeah, unless he moves down in rank in a smaller school or something. I think he's just carved out his career as an assistant coach.
Yeah, that's pretty much. Let me ask you this, and we may find more about this next week, or I guess when do they play? Friday? He will be here Saturday?
No, they play Saturday. He'll be here Sunday.
Sunday, okay. Do you think anybody on this staff will be here next year?
Shane, I mean, the likelihood is slim, it seems like at this point, but I don't know all the connections that Napier has to this staff. I mean, you look at the staff, I think McGriff is one guy that, you would think he might have a chance because he's known as a good recruiter in the league. Who else? I mean,
Brewster, possibly?
Brewster is another guy that you think may fit that profile of staying around. The new cornerbacks coach, Jules Montaner, he had some time on Saban's staff during the same time as Napier, so I don't know their connection. I don't know how tight they are. I mean, so there's always that potential, but I've just seen it work out so many times over the years. I mean, usually if one or two guys stay, that's about as many as you'll see be retained, but there's always that potential.
Yeah, so usually, a lot of people talked about the strength coach too. I know a lot of Gator fans love Nick Savage. I know the players like him. But again, usually that strength coach is like the number one guy for a head football coach, and they got to trust that guy and believe in him. So I don't know who the strength guy is at Louisiana, but he may have some guy at Alabama that he's worked with that he wants to bring in here. So we'll have to wait and see. You heard anything about the strength staff?
No, everything is still pretty up in the air. I mean, because of the way he's staying back in Louisiana and really focused on finishing that job. I mean, I know a lot of fans have showed mixed emotions about that. Like, I like the fact that he stayed committed to those guys because, they're like, well, why can't he get to Florida and start recruiting? Well, I mean, it's only 6 days. I mean, is it going to change the world in recruiting? I doubt it. But I just like to see a guy under a commitment like that. And, he's got to care about those guys to do that. So I don't mind that part of it, but I don't know, who's he bringing and all that stuff yet, Shane.
Yeah. Scott, so before we let you go, let's switch gears a little bit. Basketball team is rolling right along. I don't know if you were at the game yesterday or watched it on TV, but man, they continue to play with great effort, and they knocked down some shots yesterday and just basically blew out the Troy Trojans.
Yeah, I mean, this is a team that you can tell it is mentally tough. We've talked a lot about football team this year and how it may have not been mentally tough, and which has led to some problems. I don't think with this basketball team, from what I've seen so far, this is a very mentally tough game. I mean, to win an Ohio State game last week, I mean, that was an excellent game. And if you're not mentally tough, you could have easily crumbled in that one. And they didn't. And then, of course, they hit it on Tyree Appleby's game winner. Certainly one of the best Gators sports moments of the year this year. And I really like this team, Shane. It's a veteran team with a lot of new faces. They're going to play defense. They're going to bring the energy every single night. That's going to keep them in most games. And then you start hitting shots like they did against Troy, you're going to get 35 and 40-point wins, which is what they did against an undermanned Trojans team. But I think at 6-0, a couple of big wins already under the belt, I like this team. I mean, it's nice to see what they've done early. I mean, it bodes well for the future, and they just got to stay healthy and keep going. But I just think as veteran laden as they are, Shane, they're built for a good season if they stay healthy.
We got a text here on the Titan MR text line. It's very long. It's from Sheila. I'm going to kind of paraphrase it here. She's basically asking, did Billy Napier and his family come look at the campus or visit Gainesville at all before making his decision? Because most of the time in the real world, when you are being interviewed for a job, you usually at least go meet the people you'll be working for and see where you may be living. And it's a little bit longer than that. I will say this, Billy Napier's been coaching ball a long time. He's probably very familiar with the University of Florida campus facilities, things of that nature. He knows it's a college town.
Yeah.
But I don't think he came here. Scott went there to meet with him and his family, right?
Yeah, no, not to my knowledge. As far as I know, he didn't come here. He grew up, like I said, up in North Georgia. He's been all around the SEC, so he's been to Gainesville before. His wife's from Gainesville, Georgia. So, so I mean, they're Southerners. They know what these college towns were like in the South. So I'm sure he has some history. But yeah, as far as I know what her point is. You're right. That's the way it works for a lot of people in the real world. But as we know, college football is its kind of own world, Shane.
Yeah, it is. All right, Scott, we'll let you go. I'm going to get This Day in Sports, and then we're going to close out today's program. We appreciate you taking the time, buddy, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, see you guys. That's
Scott Carter. Join us on the Titan MR hotline. This Day in Sports brought to you by our good friends at Comfort Temp. Comfort is our business. Miners are promised. Comfort Temp's now hiring team members with all levels of experience, great culture, and benefits and opportunities for growth. $1,000 signing bonus for qualified positions. Give them a call, 352-376-2366. This Day in Sports in 1987, my team I grew up watching. The New Orleans Saints win a football game and assure their first winning NFL season. And I did not realize that. I know I grew up with people wearing the bags over their heads, but I didn't know they didn't have their first winning season until 1987. That's brought to you by our good friends at Comfort Temp. Hope you enjoyed today's show. We'll get Buddy Martin's thoughts and Trent Whittemore tomorrow. But appreciate you taking the time to join our program. Tell all your friends and family to follow us and like us, all that stuff on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all those different platforms out there. Enjoy your day, folks. Today's show's a wrap, brought to you by Wrap Spot. See you tomorrow.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, won't back down. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Great Clips, it's gonna be great. Our Gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, South State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co. Some of our touchdown sponsors are MB Listing, McDonald's of Gainesville, My IT Masters, Gainesville Neon and Signs, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Avera and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Ruse Ogra Agent, State Farm Insurance, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the Advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure you follow us and support the businesses that support us.